welcome to a Hygge-rific episode of We Only Look Thin. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
I am Katherine Weigel. I'm one of your hosts. I've lost about 145 New Year pounds.
Wow.
And with me today is...
Donald Weigel, and I lost about 100 old year pounds. And we are here to tell you about it. This, in addition to being the first episode of 2022, where I believe we now have flying cars, is also the 4-year anniversary officially of us recording and putting out episodes of We Only Look Thin.
We Only Look Thin. How is that possible?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm questioning everything right now.
Yeah.
It has flown by.
I wish now I had looked up what the 4th anniversary is. It's probably tissue paper or something like that.
It's fine. I'm not a traditionalist like that. But yeah, welcome to the new year. Same you. There's no new us. There's just us with new information, new ways to look at things.
Yeah, maybe you've taken a break from health and fitness, and because it's the beginning of the year, you're getting back into it, listening to the show. Maybe you've been there all along. We say thank you either way.
And hello. If you're new to the show, hello.
Hello.
This is how it starts.
Yeah.
New Year, same us. We always get inundated with, January, the new you, new everything kind of thing. But also, it's a weird time of no more celebrating.
Yeah.
Stop it. Put everything away. If you still have decorations up on, after Orthodox Christmas, you're a garbage person. I don't know. There's always, there's the Taylor Swift song that's like, we can keep our Christmas lights up till January. I'm like, yeah, that's what you do.
Yeah, you do that. Mine aren't coming down before the 10th. That is for sure.
Yeah. But we are here to talk about the gloom. I know usually in California it's June gloom, but we're talking about the gloom that is January.
Yeah.
And the lack of things to look forward to, and the toll that it takes on us emotionally as we get away from the holiday celebrations and try to figure out how we're going to be new people in the new year.
Absolutely.
So we received a question from a WOLT member, We Only Look Thin member, Eileen, sort of asking about how to deal with post-holiday. So
hello, Eileen.
It's actually, I know last time we did an episode with lots of different questions. This is the shortest question, but it demands the longest episode.
Yes.
So here we go. So Eileen says, how do I change my mindset from holiday time back to normal time, especially when the holiday blues settle in? So we are familiar with the color blue. And managing it and all that it entails.
Yes.
But we wanted to do just a full episode on kind of how to navigate getting past the holidays. There's so much anticipation leading up to the holidays and the merriment and all of the, the trappings of the season. And then suddenly in January, it's like, put it all away, become austere new people with new habit goals, eating salads. And we're here to say that it doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of societal pressure and this idea that you wake up January 1st and suddenly that's when you have it all figured out and you're just going to get on the straight and narrow and have a hardcore plan and you're going to white knuckle it for the rest of the year and you're going to get it together and this is going to be the time to do it and you're going to figure it out right now.
Right. I mean, there's all these awful montages of, okay, empty the pantry, empty the everything, get out all the, pre-chop everything. Pre-chopping isn't my problem. But that it kind of feels sad. It's like, all the merriment is gone. What am I going to do with myself now? So we have a bunch of different tips and tricks on ways to kind of manage your mindset and create some hope for the future other than just celery, because that's sad. Nobody wants to celebrate celery in January.
Absolutely. And the first thing that I wanted to say is you don't have to figure it all out today. And you don't have to go 100% into austerity measures right away to make your health and fitness goals work. And I would actually say, go even a step farther and say, you don't ever and should never go into 100% austerity measures to make your health and fitness goals work. I know what worked for me is gentle baby steps, taking one foot, putting it in front of the other, until I'm walking across the floor. And really
You're
just
such a nerd.
I know. And really just taking, one tiny step at a time and then making that a habit and then building upon it until eventually I have a bunch of habits that I do and I continue to do to this day.
Were you talking about tiny habits so that I could talk about tiny habits?
A little bit.
Oh boy. I forgot. I actually have a really hard time with self-promotion.
Yeah.
But turns out,
I'll promote you enough for both of us.
Quite by surprise, I have actually become, Catherine Weigel, a certified Tiny Habits coach.
Oh,
hooray for me.
Congratulations.
Friend of the show.
You're bona fide.
BJ Fogg.
Yeah.
I actually became certified as a Tiny Habits coach. So we'll be talking about that in the new year. Still with the chuckles and the comedy, but with just a little bit of structure around how to put tiny habits into place in our lives. So that's very exciting. BJ Fogg, talk to the man, lovely guy, and he's kind of goofy, sort of like us too.
Yeah, and if you don't know what we're talking about, he's a behavioral professor who wrote a book called Tiny Habits. That's great. We both read it. Catherine actually has become a certified Tiny Habits coach, and a lot of what we did to lose the weight and get here, we were using the Tiny Habits method without really kind of knowing we were using the Tiny Habits method, and having Catherine be certified now, as she just said, there's a little more structure behind like what we have already done. But, as I was saying, I realized that I didn't have to figure it out all at once. When I first got my diabetes diagnosis, I really thought, which was about 6 years ago now, wow.
Oh my gosh.
I really thought I was just going to have to pump the brakes on everything fun for the rest of my life and not ever enjoy food ever again. And, Catherine, my wife, you may have heard of, also on this show, said, you know what? Why don't you just start by taking a 5-minute walk? Why don't you just start by, figuring out where your calories are right now instead of actually like trying to, super restrict them? Why don't you just take that baby step in the right direction? And that was really an eye-opening, life-changing statement that she said to me. And it really helped me to not be super depressed and to be able to actually face doing this in the first place.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm glad that all worked out.
Yeah.
No, it's been really great working with BJ Fogg, and and he is an actual PhD in behavioral sciences.
Yeah.
This isn't Weigel quackery. It's actual real.
I started drinking coffee and almost just spit it all over the microphone. Weigel quackery. Yeah.
But actually knowing that there is scientific research that's been put behind it, it just helps validate all of the things that we're talking about. So I'm excited to share that with everyone in the future, but not now, not today.
Not the last 4 years of Weigel quackery we've been giving you so far.
No, but there's a lot of, that's just what worked for the Weigels, but there's actual science behind it. So now we have science on our side after 4 years. It's like an undergrad degree. It's great.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. So back to the winter blues and how to manage January in small, sustainable steps. So again, right now, if you're listening to this, you might still have some holiday treats, lazing about your kitchen, maybe some treats that you haven't finished yet.
Yeah.
Might be a good time to say arrivederci and goodbye to the holiday treats in the house, things that are, the holiday foods that you can't seem to moderate. They're stale. Just get them out. Get them out of the house.
We say this every year around Halloween. Like on November 1st, Halloween candy becomes November 1st candy, and it's no longer still the holidays, and you can't still use that as an internal excuse to just keep eating all of the treats.
Exactly. So get the treats out of the house. Again, the austerity measures don't need to be a thing. You don't need to eat sad, cold food right now. But maybe what you might want to do is, again, not going from that, okay, all or nothing, but actually make some food that is still delicious but fits in your plan. As in the Northern Hemisphere, kind of the warm and cozy foods, your chilies, your soups, that kind of thing, stews. Make something, pump up the volume with some delicious vegetables, but don't go to suddenly, okay, I'm just going to eat sad food. There are still ways to fit in delicious foods that fit your plan that don't feel like you're eating sadness. So please stay away from the sad foods, because that's when you're going to, maybe for a couple of days, you'll do the sad, austere foods, and then you'll just be mad about it. And then by next Friday, you're going to be, back eating indulgent foods. Figure out a way to eat foods that are still delicious, no sadness.
Yeah, or if you're like me, and Trader Joe's is not a sponsor of this show, but I eat their harvest chili as often as I can get it, which is usually only at this time of year. And instead of actually making like the soup or the chili from scratch, I let Trader Joe's do the cooking for me. They have these great refrigerated, like all you got to do is heat and eat soups. The harvest chili in particular, the whole container, which is a pound, is 260 calories, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like it should be a thing.
It doesn't seem like it should be possible, but I eat as much of that as possible. And I'm sure there are other, soups and supermarkets out there that have those sorts of things too.
Yeah, and for our friends in the Southern Hemisphere, I know you exist. This might be a time.
The Southern Hemisphere is a myth.
No, the people, not the place.
Okay.
I know, but I know we have listeners in the Southern Hemisphere. This might be a great time to lean into those vibrant vegetables, the seasonal things that you can have right now, because it is summertime. So lean into those fruity water beverages, lean into vegetables and fruit, and really embrace the season. Get away from those hearty foods
absolutely
that you might experience at the holiday. But now we're going to take you over to Denmark. So a few years ago, I heard about the Danish sort of principle or way of life called Hygge. It is not spelled the way it sounds, but it is pronounced Hygge.
Yeah, and it's spelled like Hygge, which is sort of like getting Hygge with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Getting Hygge with it.
But it is sort of the principle of really embracing the season that you're in. And, in the darkest days of winter, when things are cold and dark, especially in Denmark, where it's cold and dark for, 9 months out of the year.
Yeah.
Of really leaning into the season and embracing, the light and coziness that you can achieve. Oftentimes, Christmas, we've got all these decorations everywhere. Some might say we over decorate.
What? Those people are crazy.
They are.
Bah humbug to them.
But this is the time to maybe, switch out the colored twinkle lights of your Christmas tree and put up white lights. We keep up white string lights in our living room window all year round.
Yeah,
and
they make us happy.
Adds a little bit of coziness. So Hygge is about bringing the outside inside with, colorful flowers and wreaths and kind of just still keeping that cozy sensibility, maybe more of a winter theme than a Christmas theme.
Yeah.
But it's really about being cozy. So that means, embracing your 5 senses, or how many ever senses you have. If you can see ghosts with your 6th sense, that's awesome too. But we're going to focus on, touch, sight, sound, sense, and taste. So again, cozy blankets, cozy socks, really leaning into textures that, make you feel like you're not in that cold to dark winter space. Twinkle lights, greenery, candles, really keeping it cozy and warm inside when it's dark out. And then also, like I said, going back to those tastes, what meals can you eat? I don't drink any water in January. January is not the month for me to be drinking cold ice water. Lean into tea and coffee and stews and soups and things that feel really cozy. Again, I might not have a salad again until June, and that's okay, but I can have vegetables that are roasted that are delicious. So leaning into that this holiday season, listening to music, keeping it cozy at home. For me, it has really helped get rid of that sort of winter post-Christmas blues. I keep up lights all the time. There's also, we've talked about it before, if you go to YouTube and click on ambience videos or search winter ambience.
Seriously, one of my favorite things. Like, we have a fairly large TV in the living room, and we keep these beautiful scenes on the television. And even when we're not actively focusing on them, we rarely sit there and actively focus on them, but just you walk through the living room or sitting in there, paying bills or whatever, and they're on the television. Every time I look up and see it, it makes me happy. I get a nice feeling inside, and it really helps boost the mood and get past those, post-holiday blues.
Yeah, imagine that it's sort of like a lovely screensaver. So it's it's either a winter scene, snow scene,
it's
summer
not flying
scene.
Toasters, though.
No, not flying toasters, which would be fun.
Yeah.
But I know it's goofy. We don't really watch TV unless we're watching something in particular. We don't keep the TV on, but it's a way to, like, we're looking at one right now. Crackling fireplace, gentle snow outside. It doesn't snow in Los Angeles, but it's a cozy little scene to kind of keep us company. So for us, that has been a really giant mood booster, especially since COVID is sort of when we found it. But there are ones of like the ice planet Hoth from Star Wars.
Yeah.
There are video game ambience, but just type in ambience of, the Tuscany. You can put that in too if you want to be, or on a sandy beach ambience. There are tons of videos out there. It is a great time to be alive.
Yeah, if you need to see, summer things in the winter to make yourself feel better, like there are plenty of them out there. There are some beautiful, like actual videos from, beautiful beaches around the world that you can just play. And then there are also some sort of, artificially created ones, and they really have been a boon to me. I know some people might think this is silly.
Dystopian future, like Fahrenheit 451.
I really enjoy it. It has really helped boost my mood and overall happiness.
Yeah. Every time anyone comes to visit, we turn it on and try to extol the virtues of it. It's sort of like we could sell rebounders, and we can also sell ambience videos because they're big mood boosters.
For sure.
So now we're going to go sort of deep into, aside from the Hygge of the season, of really this is a season to invest in yourself. This isn't about restriction. This isn't about, like, oh gosh, I've got to figure my whole life out now. But this might be a time to really lean away from the, oh my gosh, I've got nothing to look forward to, into really leaning into, you have the opportunity to have things to look forward to by taking some actual action, not just waiting for something to knock on the door. But, actually start investing in yourself in the new year, especially now that things are maybe quieter after the holidays. So we're going to go through a bunch of different things that you could do. Just pick one to start out. Don't think you've got to do all, I don't even know how many we have outlined here.
Find something that sounds good to you on this list.
Okay. So the first thing, and Gretchen Rubin talks about this too, about sort of the Sunday blues or the back to work blues of saving something to look forward to. Don't get all of the, the happy cheer done in December. Save some things for January. So for example, you could decide you're going to do some sort of movie marathon. You're going to watch all the Hitchcock movies. You're going to watch all the Godfather movies. You're going to start a new series. There are so many good TV shows that you could start watching if you haven't watched them before. And Donald actually did a little coda to my suggestion of maybe this is the time to get the rebounder and rebound while you're watching, you're watching movie marathons.
Yeah. If you're a new listener, or maybe you don't know, rebounder is sort of this mini trampoline, and when you think of trampoline, maybe you think of like trying to jump really high on it, but in our case, you just sort of pretend you're walking in place.
Yeah, kind of pivot from left to right.
And it really is solid, good exercise, burns calories, and we can do it in front of the television. We don't have to go outside and brave the elements, and we don't have to have if you've got space for a treadmill, that's awesome. But, if you're like us and you don't have to have a big treadmill, and, the two of us we'd have to have two of them in order to be able to do it at the same time.
No living room.
We can each fit a rebounder in the living room and both do this while we, still catch up on our favorite shows.
Exactly. So really have something like that to look forward to. Also, this might be a great time to take a class, a virtual class, an in-person class, a distance learning class. I know COVID is still, who knows what's happening with COVID or what, alphabet number we're on right now, but take an online class. There are so many programs that you can just Google online class in, maybe not knife sharpening, maybe not that, but there are
or maybe,
but there are art classes that you can take online, yoga classes, actual universities that do remote learning classes that you can take. Invest in yourself. Don't feel like you have to become an expert, but try something out for fun and see if it's something that you're interested in. We can get, bored. People get bored. That isn't something I'm familiar with, but there's got to be some interest that you have that you could just audition for the season.
And there are even, lots of free YouTube videos which will teach you how to do lots of things. So if you've ever thought to yourself, oh, I'd really like to learn how to sew, or I'd really like to learn how to sharpen knives. There are YouTube videos out there which will show you how to do those things, even if you can't find an actual online real class to do.
Yeah, and I think there are people who think like, oh gosh, well, I've got to really invest my time in it, or I've got to become a professional, or we have that fear of trying something new because what if I'm not good at it? But learn Spanish, learn American Sign Language, just try something out and see if you like it. Audition it. It's not like you have to fit the mold. Find something and audition and see if a new hobby or skill is interesting to you. So here are a few more. Start a new book series that you've always wanted to try. Have sort of okay, I'm going to have a winter of Stephen King. Read or listen to Misery. Super fun. When you find out what happens to that guy, you're going to be like, my life is not that bad. So It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And look, we've talked about this before too. You're listening to a podcast, so you obviously are into audio entertainment. One thing that's been a real boon to me is audiobooks.
Yeah. And oh my gosh.
I always
free money
during football season. I tend to listen to a lot of sports football related podcasts, but the rest of the year I tend to listen to audiobooks, and you can borrow them from the library. You can get an Audible subscription, and you can listen to them when you're in the shower. You can listen to them when you're driving. You can listen to them when you're exercising, and you have all of this time to listen when, or cleaning around the house, that maybe you wouldn't have for reading a traditional paper book, because the paper book generally requires you to sit or stand still.
Right. So also, if you are the kind of person who sees people or likes people, you can do virtual or in-person game nights. Start a new, maybe it doesn't have to be, we're going to do it every single weekend, but start a monthly game night with your friends. When we were doing a Yahtzee game online with a friend back when COVID started. So you can still stay connected from afar, but start a new tradition of hey, once a month, let's do a thing.
And I played poker with some friends over Zoom early in the pandemic when we couldn't get together at all.
Yeah. Start a weekend, hike situation, or take a class on a weekend. Be a tourist in your own town. We live in Los Angeles and tend to not go anywhere interesting unless someone is visiting, but be like, oh, sure, let's check out the Wax Museum. Hey, I've never been to this, hiking trail before. I usually don't go down to the South Bay. Just be a tourist in your own town and spend weekends trying out new things that you might not do, because when you live somewhere, you're like, I don't go there. I don't do that. But yeah, be a tourist in your own town.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Also, this is something from Gretchen Rubin. Celebrate minor holidays. In the U.S., we have MLK Day. We have President's Day, which is one holiday. When I was a kid, it was two, but they've consolidated it.
Yeah.
Boo-hoo to that. President's Day. Learn about some presidents. Also, February, Groundhog Day. What's more fun than that? I know it's silly, but lean into celebrating those small holidays and really having something to look forward to.
Arbor Day, even.
Yeah. But, aside from Valentine's Day, which already it's December when we're recording this, and there's already Valentine's Day stuff.
The stores have moved on.
But really, why not celebrate those minor holidays? It can just be fun to lean into something new. And then this is a really big one too. Actually plan something for the year ahead.
Yeah.
Studies show that planning for your next trip, your next vacation, your next whatever actually brings almost as much joy as the actual event does. Research things, look on Airbnb, look at hotels.com, look on, travel websites, and plan your next adventure, because part of life is the anticipation of the thing. Oftentimes Christmas is kind of maybe a letdown, because what we look forward to is the anticipation of Christmas and enjoying the season.
Yeah.
So really, even if it's a trip that might not be realistic to take, maybe you could plan to go to New Zealand in 2023. And this might be the time to actually start researching it, because part of the, enjoyment of life is planning for the next thing. So whether it's a big trip or a small trip or a weekend getaway, start planning that next adventure and get your brain out of, well, I've got nothing to look forward to. Make something to look forward to.
Yeah, we've even really started pre-planning a trip for 2023 for our 25th wedding anniversary that we're already already talking about. And we've been sort of fake planning a Disney World trip for probably the last 2 years that I don't know if we're actually ever going to take, but it's just fun to like think about all of the things that we're going to see and do. And really, like I am repeating what Catherine just said, but part of the holiday blues setting in is that feeling of not having anything to look forward to. So give yourself something to look forward to.
Yeah. And I know this may sound really strange, but I came up with this and I'm going to say it. So that old wedding things, something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue.
Yes.
If you're looking at creating a new tradition or something new for January, think of something old. What is something that you used to do that you've kind of forgotten about that you could go back and try again that you haven't done in a long time? What hobby could you dust off? What is something that you did in high school that you enjoyed that maybe you haven't done again? Maybe it was playing an instrument or doing track or, some kind of hobby. Go back to something old. Again, try something new. It doesn't have to be this perfect, I'm going to become an expert in something, but just like, hey, why don't I try out something like that? Also, something borrowed. You've got friends with interests that you maybe don't have, but go, hey, you know what? I know that you really enjoy, needlepoint.
Yeah.
Can we maybe hang out once? Hey, you sew. I have never used a sewing machine. Could we hang out one afternoon and you could kind of show me what you do and how you do it? Audition a new hobby that someone else enjoys to see if it's something that you might want to do too. Maybe it won't work, but there's no pressure in just checking it out and seeing if you like. And then the something blue, I don't know, pick your color of the year and rearrange your house in that color. Have a color that you're going to wear. Gretchen Rubin actually talks about that.
Doesn't literally have to be blue.
No, it doesn't have to be something blue, but it's like, lean into blue. How could you really embrace something new for the season? Just try it out. Why not? We've given you very many ideas. Just try one out in this thing. So.
And along those same lines, I think a lot of people think New Year's resolutions have to be, something awful or an uphill habit like we were talking about recently. It's like, hey, I'm going to quit smoking. I'm going to lose 50 pounds, something that's going to be really hard. But I like to set fun New Year's resolutions like, hey, I'm going to try and, read a certain amount of comic books this year. Like, I'm going to try and play Dungeons and Dragons with our daughter a certain amount of times this year. Like that will be my resolution and something fun that I actually want to do.
Well, and another thing Donald and I did before the pandemic, which maybe we should start back up again, is actually trying out new coffee shops wherever we go.
Oh, yeah. We need to do that.
Because we try not to drink too often, but the idea of being in a different part of town and trying out whatever they say is their best brew. That is actually, it's a fun thing to do to be like, oh, okay, well, we're in a new town. Why don't we try out their best coffee?
And I get to be judgmental at the same time, which is great.
No, Donald loves that. And then finally, we had mentioned this before, and it is actually something that Donald and I are both doing.
Yeah.
But this is the time you can go on Amazon, wherever you are, buy an advent calendar to use in January.
Non-food related.
There are so many advent calendars of just, something to do daily, whether it's a beauty calendar or a tea of the day or a Funko Pop of the day.
I have a couple that are like, little mini Funko Pops, 21 little tiny Funko Pops that I can open one a day. And then actually afterwards I can save the box, put them back in, and then use them again next year because it's still fun.
He's going to forget. So I have a beauty one, 12 Days of Beauty that I'm going to use from Trader Joe's that I'm going to start on January 1st. So I'm excited about that. I got something to look forward to. But basically, we feel like, and this is the part where it kind of all relates back to food. We lack things to look forward to, so we look forward to eating because eating is something that we can do every day. But as grown-ups, we have the opportunity to fold in new and exciting habits, new adventures into our lives, and we don't have to wait for the holidays to feel joy. We don't have to wait until summer break. We don't have to wait, for these pre-prescribed holidays. We can make things special every day. A lot of times it's like that working for the weekend thing where all we do is try to slog through the week and enjoy the weekends or enjoy the next break. And I don't want to wait until April and spring break to enjoy myself. We can add things into our lives, and it doesn't have to be a whole new career or a whole new, investment, but add small things throughout the year that we're trying to build up new and improved versions of ourselves. We don't have to lay dormant until the next holiday to feel cheer. We can take small steps to inject happiness into every day of the year and inject small things that, again, we don't have to be experts in it, but we can try out new hobbies, new fitness routines, new workouts, and just see if they work for us, because we don't have to comply with external expectations, but we do have the opportunity to take responsibility for our own happiness and inject a little bit of joy, a little bit of excitement, get rid of the blues for January, and start working on some new things for yourself.
Absolutely. And look, I know I feel like that was Catherine trying to wrap up the episode, but I just wanted to tag on something else. I know we mentioned it at the beginning of the episode, but part of transitioning from the holidays, as was in the original question, sort of back to real life in air quotes, part of that for me was realizing that there is no transition, that my real life is happening all the time.
Yeah.
And there is no finish line to this. There's no magical barrier. January 1st doesn't actually create some magical new year. And part of hitting my fitness goal, part of hitting my weight loss goal and maintaining it has been the idea that I need to make this my lifestyle all the time. Sure, holidays come up. Things come up throughout the whole year, and sure, I'm going to indulge, but that doesn't mean that I should then get on the indulgence, train and continue to indulge. I know that I need to get right back on it because there is no finish line. This is the rest of my life, and I now identify as a healthy, fit person who eats a certain way, who exercises a certain amount, and who just is this person now moving forward. It's not a matter of old me, new me. It's just me.
Yeah. So thank you so much for listening to this episode. We so appreciate the 4 years of patronage you have to the We Only Look Thin podcast.
Yes, indeed.
Remember, take away one tip from this episode. You do not have to do it all, but you have the opportunity to do something. So just take one thing away and let us know how you do by reaching out and getting in touch with us. You can email us at weonlylookthin@gmail.com if you'd like to share what you fold into your life in this season of opportunity.
And you can also interact with us on other social media, including Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at We Only Look Thin.
Yep.
And if you enjoyed this episode, you can find all of our episodes wherever you found this one. They're all still out there, all still available. And you can also listen to them at any time on our website, weonlylookthin.com.
Yep. And if you are at weonlylookthin.com, you can click on the link for Join Our Support Group. WOLT Place, We Only Look Thin Place, is
That's a great idea.
Facebook accountability group for women. We have a few subgroups. We do Zoom meetings. There's a newsletter, lots of great fellowship and camaraderie in the group, and a great place for accountability. It's private, so a lot of things I don't share on my normal Facebook page.
Yeah.
But there's just a lot of great support and honesty and fellowship in the group. So we have 2 subscription options, a monthly option with a 3-day complimentary trial and a 3-month option with a 7-day complimentary trial to see if Wolt Place is right for you.
And you get direct access to certified Tiny Habits coach, Catherine Weigel. And she will directly answer your questions and get on Zoom calls with you.
I sure will.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Also, if you would like to do us a favor, we would really appreciate if you would go to Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating and review. The more ratings and reviews we get, the more it grows the show. Makes it easier for them to find us when they're looking for health and fitness podcasts like ours. And also, if you say nice stuff about us, it makes us feel good.
And if you're really not sure how to press buttons for podcast apps, we get it. We understand. I probably wouldn't have a television if it wasn't for Donald Weigel turning it on.
Yes.
I choose to not know how to turn on televisions. That's just I invest in other ways. But tell someone else about the podcast. Let them know it's a place for comedy, for support, for a little bit of healthy insights, growth mindset, all that stuff. Anyone can find our podcast on all your favorite podcasting apps, or just at our website, weonlylookthin.com. So if you're secretly kind of annoyed that we have so many great ideas to get those winter blues out of the way, just remember that Donald and I are an inspiration.
The information that you hear on this podcast is for informational purposes only. The hosts are not medical professionals. You should always consult with your doctor, nurse, or other certified health professional before beginning any diet or fitness program.